Sergio, Billy Joe Saunders had some of his first public statements this week, taking to social media to say, among other things, I'll be back. Now, Eddie Hearn, Saunders' promoter, isn't sure what the future of Billy Joe Saunders is. He made a reported $8 million to face Canelo Alvarez. At 31 years old, he may elect to just walk away. So I'll ask you this. Do you think that Billy Joe Saunders will fight again? And do you think he'll be a world champion again?
Chances are he won't be a world champion again because Canelo has all the belts. So what's he going to do? Move up to light heavyweight or drop down to 160? So chances are slim. And also that injury, if those reports and the pictures of the surgery and all the pins they put into his skull is true, I mean, how do you take a punch after that? Even if you can take a punch, like a fighter doesn't have that many fights in him. So I would say no, I don't think he can become champion again. And you can never question a champion, don't get me wrong. Fighters like Sugar Ray Leonard, when he had the detached retina, came back and proved everybody wrong, even his own doctors, but it was dangerous. He could lose his sight. Whenever you're dealing with losing your sight like that, like Billy Joe Saunders, I just don't think they come back from that. He had an excellent career from the Olympics to becoming a 2-division world champion, and he cashed out. He cashed out. He got to the biggest stage and he can cash out. No shame in his career. He had a career-ending injury with the best fighter in the world. I don't think he comes back, Mannix.
I think he does come back, and I think he is a world champion once again. Two things you have to remember. Number one, Canelo Alvarez is out to become the undisputed super middleweight champion. But once he becomes undisputed, I don't think he intends to maintain those titles for an extended period of time. In other words, I expect the belts to fragment at some point in 2022. And if he does, I think Billy Joe Saunders can quickly position himself for a world title shot once again. The second part of this is that while Billy Joe Saunders is going to have a lot to overcome with this injury and how he fights going forward, you have to remember, he's not this kind of slug-it-out warrior that takes a lot of punches. He's one of the top defensive fighters in all of boxing. So I think if he maintains that defensive style and isn't so gun-shy because of that injury that he's not throwing punches, he's going to have success. So now add one other thing to the mix, Sergio. Billy Joe Saunders lost the title to Canelo at 168. I do believe that Billy Joe Saunders could potentially make 160 and fight for a world championship at that weight class. We've all heard about, Billy Joe Saunders against Demetrius Andrade. That's a fight that a lot of people were talking about, and I think some would still have interest in at some point next year. So I think because of the nature of boxing, how many titles there are, and how fragmented they are, if Billy Joe Saunders can get back in the ring, I think he'll put himself in position to fight for a world title once again.
Andrade makes sense, but look, you're talking about titles being fragmented. Well, a whole side of his face was fragmented, and with that comes the fragmented ego and confidence and punch resistance. No one could tell a fighter when to quit. No one could tell a fighter when he's done, and no one could ever question Billy Joe's heart. He's gonna want to return. He's gonna want to prove people wrong. He's gonna become a champion again. But once he gets hit in that side of the face, I just don't think, I don't see it happening, man. Especially with a Demetrius Andrade or anyone else. I just do not see it happening.
Yeah, but you don't know that he's not going to be able to take.
I don't, Mannix. I don't. You don't, and I don't. But this is we're guessing right here, and I know how it feels to be. I know how it feels to be injured, and I know how it feels to re-injure yourself. Now, mind you, I didn't have my whole side of my face fractured. I'm talking about injuries with a broken thumb or a cracked rib or a fractured nose. Those are little injuries. You're talking about a fractured face. I just don't see it.
Right, but guys do come back from that injury. I mean, Kell Brook came back from that injury against Gennady Golovkin and tested himself against the best fighter, or one of the best fighters at that time, in the welterweight division in Errol Spence. Now, he broke his face again, so we can argue.
Bad example.
Well, no, it's not a bad example because he overcame the injury to Golovkin enough so that he could get back into the ring. Joe Joyce currently had a similar injury. He's getting back in the ring. There's a belief that he's going to be able to get back to where he once was. So I don't know about all that. I think Billy Joe Saunders has something to overcome, but I do think there should be reason to believe he can get back to the highest level.
All I heard in that was he broke his face again.
Okay. Did you hear the Joe Joyce part?
we shall see with him.